Hello, is this thing on? Is it working? Can you hear me? Hello. I have returned. Yeah, I went for a really nice walk this morning. It was really nice out. It's good. Good way to start the day. Hello, everybody. I have a few things that I looked at earlier today, and I'd like to share them, you know? Just some little interesting things that have occurred. So, to start off, British Columbia is ending its drug decriminalization thing. So, if you guys don't know, British Columbia, which is a province in Canada, did a whole thing where they decriminalized drugs to try and deal with the opioid crisis, and it hasn't worked. So it hasn't delivered the results we hoped for. And so I looked at the provincial reports. This is what it looked like at the beginning of the decriminalization in 2023, and this is how it's been going. So yeah, that really isn't good looking, you know. We're talking about the entirety, you know. So I mean, not a whole lot to say on that, but I could go through an article right here. So, the province will not renew its drug decriminalization program because it has not delivered the results the government has hoped for. 3-year pilot program, which allowed people to possess small amounts of illicit drugs, expires at the end of the month. In a statement, Health Minister Jose Osborne said the intention was to make it easier for people struggling with addiction to reach out for help without being criminalized. And obviously it has not worked out very well. So yeah, these are the reports. Good stuff, good stuff. And yeah, they decriminalized possession of, like, I think it was under a gram of illicit substances. Yeah, one sec. Alright, is that better? Let's see here. I think this is the gain. Let's see. Do. There you go. That might be a little bit better. Sorry. Yeah, so as I was saying, the decriminalization has not worked. Well, we're looking for minor improvements here, alright? It's one step at a time, you know? Add distortion. I don't think I need to. I'm already distorting enough. So, on other notes, the Department of Military in the States, or whatever it's called, made a statement about the fact that they have directed energy weapons. Like, you know, the space lasers, like, they've officially stated that they have them. They call them hells. So, I mean, yeah, the War Department. Yeah, I mean, it's not big news, but they actually went out and said it. So, people going freaky about their houses suddenly exploding aren't so freaky. I wonder if we could start force fires. I mean, yeah. I wonder where all those force fires started. Let's see here. And let's see. Also, I was looking at various patents for like mind control stuff, and I came across this website, which is Victims of Mind Control. Mind control patents, videos about mind control. So I thought this would be kind of interesting to go through. I think testimonies and proofs would be a great place to start. What do you guys think? Let's see here. So here's some testimonies. This guy looks like he's been MK Ultra'd. I'm writing this statement to report my personal experiences. Thanks for the dollar.
There's no such thing. We'll do a 180 and say they knew it all along and you are the one who didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Denial and then saying that they have it. You know, totally a good look. Mr. America, good job. So, VTube. Yeah, these are the people who got sissy hypnoed, and they feel bad about it. So, since early 2010, I've become aware that I am a victim of electronic surveillance and torture. Now I believe that the unknown electronic surveillance was there many, many months or years before certain events, which led me to led me to file for divorce in early 2009. Now I believe I was mind controlled into leaving my family. Now I believe, since there's a court case in New Orleans, which started in 2008 or earlier, I became part of what seemed to be an electronic surveillance and torture program here in Louisiana, the U.S. I'm an innocent victim, a natural U.S. citizen, and a U.S. military veteran. Before the above court cases, I did not realize that any radio frequency, active denial, voice to skull, psych weapons, or subliminal messages were being directed to my person. I have lost my family and my job because of these weapons. Why is this happening to me? How can the United States sponsor this torture? How can we stop it? What I experience on a daily basis: microwave or radio wave irritation and or heating, electromagnetic shocks to my body, head, and everywhere else, electromagnetic choking, sudden leg or arm movement, my thoughts being read in real time, and then in the real time the system attempts to condition me with various responses using voice to skull and or microwave heating effects or infrasound, voice to skull or microwave hearing effects and or infrasound, speech interference, induced heart pain and irregular heartbeat, sleep deprivation. I'm currently misdiagnosed with delusional disorder and bipolar in error due to this 24/7 torture and surveillance system being directed onto my person. Schizophrenic Matt explains his symptoms. Yeah, let's, I'm gonna look up the, voice to skull stuff. One sec. Why did I type stuff? Voice to skull technology. Let's see here. Your ethical guide to V2K. Let's pull this up. Is voice to skull legit? Voice to skull technology involves transmitting audio signals directly into someone's head using microwaves, bypassing the normal auditory system. However, mainstream science distributes this feasibility. Well, you can tell the kind of people who go onto this site because there's like IQ tests absolutely everywhere. GMO, organic, free gang stalking. Yes, I prefer that as well. Specific patents related to V2K are scarce and disputed. Some sources attribute both supposed V2K patent to Alex Roth, further fueling conspiracy theories. Let's look up this guy. Alex Roth, V2K. Why is it V2K? Skulls aren't spelled with K. Voice to skull. Ethical... Voice to skull technology. How does voice to skull work? Automatic machine for identifying victim of abuse, voice to skull, and remote neural networking. Here, I'll pull this up. Automatic machine for identifying victim of abuse, voice to skull, and remote neural network monitoring technology, and for identifying remote attacker or operator using device of voice to skull and remote neural monitoring. Is that a BuzzFeed article? No, that's okay, I'm not gonna look at that site. That seems to be a little BS-y. Let's go back to the patent here. That's a different patent. I have all these patents open. Skulljacking? Yeah, that's a good name. Joseph the Third. Ross sounds like a guy that can't afford very big hats. My grandmother wants to know who the guy on the left is. That's John Keegan. John Keegan is the guy who runs all of the voice to skull experiments. Just so you know. Just so you know. Skulljacking. Alright, let's continue with this. Automatic machine can both identify victim and remote operator using device of V2K and remote neural monitoring. The automatic machine using databases consisting 7...
Oh no, it's
Thank you.
Hell forfeit your mortal positions to Sisyphus.
Thank you, Hidden. Yes, forfeit your possessions to me. Alright, let's look at this. Yes. Thank you for the $25. I think, let's look at how this thing works. The answer is on a touchscreen according to V2K feedback symbols. By pressing buttons yes or no, the automatic identifying system will show correct or wrong with every pressing. This function can guide the tested person to get a final accurate identification quickly. Meanwhile, printing and storing system can print certificate to victim and documents of all kinds of status of remote operator, store them in... Is this in English? This person does not seem to have a very good English. Okay, so it looks like there's a decision tree here. So it's yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. That doesn't seem... It seems kind of schizo, I'm just gonna say that.
Oy vey, give me money!
Monster Skull Tech is real. They use it to command me to gamble as soon as I get my paycheck.
Thank you for the 555. Whoa, yeah, voice to skull. That's what Steak uses in their ads. So, so basically, this is a glorified baby press yes or no button. At the MS-DOS, I remember seeing a paper years ago where an AI could draw an image of what a test subject was thinking based off brain activity. Well, I mean, if you have enough data, you can do anything. But this doesn't look very sophisticated. Just gonna say that now. So let's go back to more mind control victims. See some more testimonies. Cease and desist letters. Okay, what about Bandri Santanu? You can email these guys. I'm not gonna do that, sorry. Torture in V2K started from the first week of November 2019 while studying the Caesar Gate JRF. Have already suffered a loss of 2 academic years and not finding any possible respite from aperiodic disturbances. I was a student, having gotten admission through Gate 2019. I've lodged a police complaint and sent numerous emails with my horrific experiences documented in the link provided below for awareness. I'm willing to donate my body as well as other necessary organs for thorough checkup. I know some inserted elements that were in my brain and ears have passed down due to gravity to other parts of my body through my neck, during which my voice changed. Therefore, a post-mortem is essential to find and detect such insertions to other humans who might be using such spying technologies to siphon important documents from me, like missile technologies, which I have also heard through the V2K wirelessly sent to me. I've understood this post poses a risk to the internal security of our nation, since my vitals and live feed through my eyes and ears, processed through the computers that were sent to other nationals whose accents I have heard and identified as European or American. Therefore, these people have the capacity to infiltrate any institution as a spy. I curse scientists and employees of Caesar Simeri Dugpar who were in employment since October 2019 to have carried out this brain trafficking. My brain was sold wirelessly and I was hypnotized wirelessly. Memory alteration and constant commentary of whatever I see as well as what I'm not focusing on have been read to me. These people have set up rackets to initially fool the victim by following them rigorously to inflict damage on human life. It is extremely necessary to obtain this technology and keep exposing terrorist activities only. Information of the currently operating rackets needs to be found by interrogating the people in present employment in India. I urge all fellow victims to fill the online form and make formal police complaints. No, I'm looking at the mind control victims website, Limeskull. $1 mind control versus $10,000 mind control. Yeah, I mean this. I mean, maybe it's legit. Maybe these people are actually being mind controlled, but it's seems a little unlikely. I'm not crazy. The shadow government is beating voices in my head. Astute observation. Joseph III, 6207. Yes, these people managed to obtain internal monologue. I never realized it was a normal human trait. Maybe all of our internal monologue is actually schizophrenic, beamed into mind government information. So let's look at Briar Joshua's testimony. My name is Joshua Bayer. I'm a male who resided in Toronto for most of his life. I should be a normal, healthy member of society, but because of the interference of an organization who I believe to be the NSA, I am not. I realize that I have a device in my head affecting my brain that can read my mind, implant voices directly into my brain. Non-stop talking and interrogations causes changes in my mood, apply shocks and headaches to my brain, induce actions, cause me to turn unwillingly, force me to make painful and awkward facial expressions, make me throw up, and make me unable to speak. The brain damage already done by the NSA makes it impossible for me to function properly in society. The brain damage is still too much for it to make sense for me to continue my education. I have little choice but to be put on my continued education on hold until my brain begins functioning in an acceptable manner. I instead have begun concentrating on learning and collecting information and informing people of the NSA's action towards me and other people's, protesting and distributing flyers with information about mind control experiments on innocent civilian people. I performed research online for people who were suffering with conditions like mine. To my surprise, in Ontario alone, 59 people have been sent before the Consent and Capacity Board, complaining they have a chip or device in their brain and skull. The court cases can be found on the Can Leave website. We can take a look at those. My case cannot be found on that site. That's because I never requested they print out the reasons behind their decision. After reading some of these court cases, I started to look for cases that had names attached to them. I found a couple of these, including one that showed Ganila Kuradina had made a similar claim before a court in Ontario. I reach out to her over Facebook, and she refers me to a group that she was a member in Toronto, referred to the Toronto TIs, to her literature. I came upon an old government program called MKUltra, in which the CIA experimented on civilian and film in a similar fashion. The goal of this program was to develop effective tools and drugs to use in interrogations. It is my belief I am a victim of a similar program being run by the NSA. A quick description of this program can be found here. Please help. Do not allow the NSA to continue to destroy my life. Do not allow them to inflict untold physical and emotional pain on me. Do not allow them to continue to control my life. I need to move on to the next chapter of my life, a chapter which does not involve NSA interference. Unfortunately, my current situation appears quite bleak. I got a false diagnosis with schizophrenia and psychosis. At this moment, I am on a community treatment order, which means psychiatrists can force me to take antipsychotic injections. These injections have terrible effects on my health and make it impossible for me to function properly. I still have a device implanted in my brain, and on occasion, the NSA sends short messages to me through it. They also use it to make it difficult for me to think at times. I occupy my days with part-time work that does not pay enough money for me to support myself. I suffer from terrible brain damage, which makes it impossible to obtain meaningful employment or continue my education. My body's in a terrible state. Much of my physical abilities have disappeared since the story began. Under the NSA's controlled interference, it's unlikely that I'll live past 40. These situations have put me in a weird place in regards to my future. In order to move on with my life, I must obtain vengeance against those who've humiliated me. Sadly, there are quite a few people who have taken part in my destruction. It's difficult to select one indignity that I want vengeance for. All I can ask for at the moment is to be allowed to try and recover. Even if they stop their assault tomorrow, I am still unsure of how my life is supposed to continue. I've lost most of what people typically place value on. The brain damage has left me in a very awkward position, and I cannot go back to work even if I wanted to. I feel my ability to reason properly has been reduced a great deal, and I do not want to live with this for the rest of my life. Thank you. Please help by informing the public. Well, I mean, it's sad. It's schizophrenics, I guess, but they probably would make very useful government tools to do destruction or get tricked into shooting people like that. Remember that one guy in the States that was given a truck full of guns and bombs and sent to like the front of like it was either like the White House in Washington or something, and he was arrested, but it was like something, it was really sketchy. I mean, it's kind of funny that these people think that it's brain implants, but it's quite sad, you know. Yeah, it's called Twitter. No, me Dannon, it's now X. Yes, we're looking at the victims of the glow-ups. I write the statement to publicly testify that I'm a targeted individual, a victim of attacks by psychotronic weapons, that is a victim of remote neural control, possibly from technology patent, US 3... having my brain hacked by criminals. I'm a victim of organized gang stalking as well. Psychotronic attacks occur mainly at night during sleep, causing different reactions such as sleep disturbance, insomnia, extreme excitement, tremors, etc. Remote neural control causes induced dreams, voice-to-skull synthetic dreams, psychological problems, synthetic telepathy. Organized gang stalking occurs in different environments, in the streets, shops, public places, and means into public transport, and in the professional workplace, school, and college. I declare to be a victim of remote neural control since the year 1998 and organized gang stalking since the year June 10, 2011. Do I actually believe in conspiracies? I mean, there's absolutely something to it, but, you're not gonna get much useful information out of people who are schizophrenic. Let's look at the patent this guy, referenced in his statement. Let's get out of this MKUltra article. So, apparatus for and method of sensing brainwaves at the position remote from a subject, whereby electromagnetic signals of different blah 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 blah. Brainwaves. I mean, this kind of stuff does happen, but that's just the TV. Oh look, they have a picture of someone sending wave signals to someone's brain. This looks like a very simple device. Well, it's the expired patent, so if you guys want to make a altering brainwave device, you can. You just have to open the patent and follow the instructions. There's not a lot of instructions, though, so... Background of the invention. Summary of the invention. The present invention relates the apparatus and a method of monitoring brainwaves. Funny thing about patents is all you need is an original idea. There's no requirement to have an actual working product. Look for craft using an internal mass reduction device. I'll do that, Jeffrey Epstein. We use it in the general public. Yeah, but I mean, television is basically mind control. Like, people say things and they think they're original, but it's basically just the television. Scanned. Let's look at the MKUltra files, and let's look at that patent. Craft using an inertial mass reduction device. It's kind of like the perpetual motion device. Let's see. Craft using an inertial reduction device. Normalized, yeah. Again, like, people don't know where the majority of their ideas come from. They don't even know that, Charge resonant cavity wall, local power. So, what am I supposed to get from this? I'm not that, science man smart. Yes. Real ideas come to you sitting on the toilet at 3 a.m. Unironically, I have an iron fist. Like, the only way you can have ideas is through silence, and the majority of our time is taken up by, like, looking at videos or listening to music or just having constant interruptions. So original thoughts very rarely form for the modern person. Like, going on Twitter and reading a bunch of articles isn't going to help you develop original ideas. Was it brainwashing that I craved an omelet this morning? Yes, Salorm, I brainwashed you into wanting an omelet. You're welcome. Let's see. So I have an archive link and I have a justice link. MKUltra in the UK. MKUltra briefing book. You know what? Let's take a look at this. Containing brief summaries of each of the 149 MKUltra sub-projects. I never actually have looked at this before, so we might find something interesting. Nothing is original, everything is based on an understanding built up from other people who have an understanding based on someone else. Yes, casemate carnal, but what I'm saying is that people absolutely lack the capacity to think of original or interesting ideas, and I think, unironically, memes might actually decrease people's ability to think quite substantially. So, let's look at this article. To isolate and characterize alkaloids of amylines to identifying nervous system of human beings, what's performed literature speech, chemically examine the seeds and their extracts for alkaloid materials. None noted. 1300. See if we can find anything interesting in here. Okay. Subproject number 2, to do miscellaneous research and testing services and behavioral modification. Only 2 specific project proposals were contained in the file. First is a proposal to study the possible synergistic action of drugs, which may be appropriate for use in abolishing consciousness through animal experimentation. The second is a proposal for a study of methods to enable the administration of drugs to patients without their knowledge. Well, don't they already do that? There's no record of project activity results. Start to contract animal testing is indicated and is a pre-indication of human testing. Sure. Have been doing testing on unwitting subjects. It's unlikely to I am looking at the MK Ultra files. Part of MK Ultra was trying to hire a wizard. Really? Everything is derivative and you shouldn't see this level of advancement in technology. You know, it's funny. I also thought of a Sonic Pikachu character when I was like in elementary school. I was like, huh, wouldn't these 2 characters be interesting to combine? And that was way before I knew anything about Chris Chan. So it seems like Sonichu seems to be something that magically appears in people's consciousness. It's a cognito hazard. So Glowies get onto wacky shit if left to our own devices, only to see if it works. Well, I mean, if you see this stuff, you gotta think about what they can do now, because they have absolutely infinite data on human behavior. Like, they can probably influence your behavior as much as they want to. They just don't, because you don't matter and it's expensive. Why am I looking at the MK Ultra files? Because it's interesting. Now, the main problem with this is that they were using the drugs they had at the time, and you don't even need drugs to control people's thoughts. You just need to tell them something over and over again. I love the description. No matter how unique you are, you think your ideas are, there are at least 100 other people just like you somewhere out there. Yeah, that's the problem with us having such a high population. It's too many people. Nobody's unique. So let's keep going here. Administration drugs of the knowledge of the patient. And another thing that's interesting is that a lot of drugs only do stuff if people think they do stuff. And you can counteract the effects of a lot of things by just believing that they don't do anything. I mean, up to a point. Like, if someone's totally incapacitated, they're not going to be mentally able to combat the effects, but... patents mind control with the and promises of ice cream, influence behavior as much as they want, striking insanity to do. Systemic control is boring, like, it's... Okay, let's read this one. All 3 of these projects are to fund the contractor, a magician, to write a manual on the various aspects of the magician's art which could be useful in covert operations. One aspect of this project is to develop skills which could be used by the working field case officer to surreptitiously place a pill or other item to be consumed by the target personally. For example, a drinker. The contractor was employed under subproject number 34 to prepare a paper on magician's techniques for the covert accumulation of information. One of the skills to be developed was the covert administration of drugs. You know, that's pretty freaky. What about the powder they blow in people's face and literally tell them to empty their bank account and hand it all over? Scopolamine? Yeah, we are in a sci-fi dystopia. Random Halo fan. 5th gen warfare. I'll look that up. I mean, I'm not gonna find anything. You know what? I'll go on Yandex and look it up. Yandex usually yields better responses. Because it's, I don't know why. Scopolamine. Yeah, I've heard of scopolamine. I heard, one story I read was, a group of black kids had a pouch of scopolamine and they walked around and blew it in random people's faces. One of the stories was a kid knocked on an old lady's door and the old lady offered to let him in, and he blew the scopolamine in her face and she dropped down dead. So, and his explanation was he didn't know why he did that. 5th gen warfare. Your guide to 5th gen warfare. Great dynamics. Let's look at Malone News. I'm sure that's a reputable source. 5th gen warfare tactics. Look at that guy. Doesn't he look trustworthy? Go away. 5th gen warfare is an extension of asymmetric and insurgent warfare strategies and tactics, whereby both conventional and unconventional military tactics and weapons are incorporated and deployed, including exploitation of political, religious, and other social causes. This new gradient of warfare uses the internet, social media, and the 24-hour news cycle to change cognitive biases of individuals and/or organizations. It can be constructed by organized or unorganized groups, and it may be led by nation-states, non-nation-state actors and organizations, non-governmental organizations, and even individuals. A key characteristic of 5th gen warfare is that the nature of the attack is concealed. The goal is to disrupt and defeat opponents by creating new cognitive biases. The most effective 5th gen warfare strategies employed by those lacking integrity are not purely based on pushing false narratives, mis- or disinformation. The most effective strategies mix truth with fiction, and to increase confusion and disorder in the thoughts and minds of those being targeted, so that they are not sure what or whom to believe. Some have written that 5th gen warfare should only apply to those with opponents with fewer resources, but this is not consistent with current practice. Large and small governments, transnational corporations, globalist organizations, as well as ordinary citizens have learned how effective 5th gen the toolkit is, and have utilized 5th gen warfare to the tactics to their advantage. So basically, social media marketing. Brave doesn't work as advertised. Yeah, Brave had like a weird crypto coin mining thing installed with it, and I'm not sure what what was I thinking? One sec. 5th gen war tactics. Yeah, I mean, one thing that's really weird is that basically the entirety of Canada has been gaslit into thinking India is 100% third world, whereas they actually have a very delimited upper and lower class. Like, they have upper class first world areas, and then they have third world and lower areas, which is where all those videos are taken. I'm not sure why it's being pushed so hard. Like, the idea that Indians are entirely that. Like, I mean, I'm not saying anything positive about Indians. I'm just saying that it's a little strange that we're being made to think that it's completely irrational. Like, it's almost like they're trying to keep us out of India by making us think it's so horrifically bad that nobody would ever want to go there, whereas the majority of cities in India actually look better than the majority of cities in Canada, or like at least the good cities in India. Like, let's see here. I'm just gonna go to a random southern region in India. I'm gonna go to Street View. Like, here's India Street View. Like, I mean, sure, yeah, it's definitely, that's a Mercedes truck. It's definitely a tropical, not first world location, but this doesn't track with the footage we're given most of the time regarding... Like, look at that. That looks like an American city almost. Like, a poorer part for sure, but this doesn't quite track with what we're being told. I mean, this is just a random city I dropped into. Like, I mean, all of our computer science jobs have gone into India. Like, this looks like a nice area right here. Look at that. Like, there's a reason why all of the computer science jobs and why doctors keep coming out of India. It's because they're secretly building up a very strong-ish type of thing. Like, they're trying to... I'm pretty sure, like, the India memes are a psyop by India to make First Worlders believe that it's not a threat. Whereas Canadian society and American society, you know, is collapsing. Like, let's go to a random city in the USA. What's a random city in the USA? Let's go to somewhere in Utah. How about that? Let's go to Beaver, Utah. Let's do a street view here. Why isn't it letting me do street view? Come on. Sorry, I'm kind of retarded. One sec. Alright, so this is a random American city in Utah. Or town, I guess. That doesn't look that much different. Average empire is a lifespan of 250 years. How old is the US? Random Halo fan. Yeah. I mean, this area looks kind of nice, not gonna lie. Definitely an American city. Big India hurt you, now they're restricting my street view. That'd be kind of funny. The point I'm trying to make is that cultural degradation in Western countries is being hidden and underreported, and stating that other countries are far worse is a way to hide that as a problem. Yeah, this is just a random city or town in the States. So let's go back to the MK Ultra. Sterile checks. Work apparently began with a demonstration in a hotel designed to demonstrate potentialities of hypnosis as a tool of clandestine services. Following the successful demonstration, this eventually evolved into subproject number 5. Research in hypnosis was to determine if hypnosis could be used as a memory enhancer or learning aid, a polygraph deceiver, etc. Also, research into susceptibility of certain personality types to hypnosis. Well, funny thing about this is that basically all short-form content is hypnosis. The ghetto neighborhood I live in the USA is probably worse than the average India area? Probably, yes. India, New Zealand, and Australia import the most Indians? Probably. Okay, so the United States is 249 years old. That's been crazy. Yeah, I would have liked to be fed in the 60s. That sounds like it would have been fun. Like, imagine just slipping pills into random people's drinks and seeing if they play your how many fingers are behind my back game. Oh, here's the LSD program. These projects seem to be the nucleus of the LSD program, and the 3 were done at both locations. Dr. Apperson, as well as doing the work himself, subcontracted research to other specialists. The first year's work seemed to be aimed at characterizing the various effects of LSD, with the aim of ultimately producing a manual for field use. During Subproject 7, money was provided to subcontract work in fields of the brain enzyme and nerve metabolism as an indication of score. Another psychiatrist will independently analyze the verbatim recordings in over 100 experiments, which LSD-25 has already been given. Subproject number 27 continued earlier this year to emphasize and understand the total effects of LSD by studying tissue metabolism and LSD influence on embryological development. So they're giving LSD to pregnant women. In addition, the work was undertaken to look for LSD antidotes and blocking agents. Subproject number 40 was continued the previous work and added aerosol delivery studies. Basic documents in each of these 3 projects is attached. Now, it would be really cool to see Subproject 40 and, get a big can of LSD and spray it into a public area and see what happens. I mean, ironically. Stop putting women on a pedestal. It's insane. We can see the writing on the wall. Things would be better. Still got American Empire. No, the American Empire's been around for a while. What appears to be a necessary basic research on a drug whose impact on society is just beginning to do use therapy, experimentation for willing. Yes. This is all very interesting. Aerosol studies. You know, guys want to learn about LSD aerosols? A funny little YouTube prank. I think it'd be a great YouTube prank to go into, like, the streets of a very large city and just spray LSD everywhere. That totally... just as a prank and not actually. It's all theoretical. So look at... let's look at these aerosol studies. Therapy of individuals by means of aerosols is of great interest and significance in medicine. Here, though, unexplored area of aerosols is the very beginning of nebulizers using non-aqueous solvents. It is proposed that studies must be made of organic materials in a non-aqueous solution. Solvents, mixtures of water. Talking of LSD, continuation of studies on a non-psychotic group of humans with a view toward maintaining a test group as well. Healthy individuals. Acid vape. New book. Oh yeah, tell us about your LSD experience, Coyote Breaks. I was gonna say LSD experiment, but I'll try to stop clicking the pen. It's very fun though. Confidential. So it was downgraded to confidential. What does that mean before? Mosquito spraying in cities looking kind of sus right now. Well, mosquitoes are really annoying, so I get it. The scope of Subproject 7 is intended to include the work of the disturbance in memory, discrediting abhorrent behavior, alteration of the sex patterns, eliciting of information, suggestibility, and creation of dependence. It has been planned in the second year's work accumulate in a compendium of information of this title would resemble operational field manuals just as much as possible. All other CD projects data bearing on the subject will be preparation. Sum of money. Well, that's interesting. Discrediting by abhorrent behavior. That is very interesting. Okay. Confidential isn't very high. I wonder what the higher levels of secrecy are. So let's read your experience. Mostly flowing colors. Stuff seems more intense and your body constantly feels like you're on a waterbed. Mostly, you are also way more suggestive because you're mostly going with the flow. Where's the sissy Hypno? Born to be monkey. We are looking at the sissy Hypno right now. We're looking at the MK Ultra sissy Hypno, where they sissy Hypno you into giving them all your money. May I acknowledge with thanks the support of your foundation for the previous year's research on whatever that is. I should like to take this opportunity to apply for support with the fiscal year January 5th, 1953 to July 4th, 1954 to continue the research project on the effects of LSD 25 on normal adults. This program for the following year is planned as follows. Content analysis of the present data will be attempted by 2 psychiatrists. One of these psychiatrists will be the psychiatrist assigned to the project itself. This psychiatrist has been observed to be the pheno case. Another psychiatrist will independently analyze the verbatim recordings in over 100 experiments in which LSD 25 has already been given. A comparison of the 2 studies will be made to evaluate not only the effects of the drug, but the technique of the experiment procedures. The analysis of data will first concern itself with the raw material and significance of individual and group responses based on the raw materials, as presented by verbatim recordings, security information. Simultaneously, the scrutiny of the raw material. Further experiments on individual subjects will be carried out by psychologists who, using both projective and non-projective media. Oh. Sorry, I keep missing stuff. Scheiße. One sec. Recent events. Subscribed. Voice to text call is real. Oh, so people subscribing. Nice. Hypno into eating Z bugs and living in Z pod. Okay, it goes Fudo, restricted, confidential, secret, top secret, and need to know. Alright, that's interesting. Fudo, restricted. For official use only. Unabomber, yes, Unabomber was sissy hypnoed by MK Ultra. This is Sissy Fist Hypno. Yeah, that's the main thing behind, Okay, so they were still using the Rorschach test, so I don't know how valid that is. The intelligence skill, the whatever that is, treat person test, cards 1, 2, 3, the traumatic appreciation test, integrating the work of the psychiatrist who, as I have mentioned, is concerned with the raw data, and the work of the psychologist who's concerned with the projective and non-projective testing will be coordinating activities of the neuropsychologist. He will be studying the effects of the drug on perception and on motor activities. The steadiness test is therefore described eye-to-hand coordination reaction time. One of the difficulties. Okay, so just LSD. The US government was extremely interested in LSD. This is all very interesting. Study of the So they really hyper-focused on LSD. So, if you have like a hippie uncle or something, you know. PETA restricted. Yes. Details of work. To study various depressant drugs which may more adequately control the maniacal psychotic patient, and test drugs which may help alcoholics and schizophrenics. Also to compare the threshold of various stimulatory seizing drugs in schizophrenic and normal persons. Subproject number 9. So, what do they mean by helping? Subproject number 10. The study tested and evaluated the effect of LSD and alcohol when administered to individuals falling under various personality categories. The methods of analysis were index, observational, and psychological testing. All was done on human subjects and in controlled situations. Predicting LSD effects. So they were giving college kids alcoholic drinks with LSD in them. Areas of research will investigate and cover the evaluation of drugs, particularly LSD and alcohol, in addition to the above. Also, this program, top secret. Spooky. This is very hard to read, by the way. I've never had LSD, so I wouldn't recommend it. U.S. use still with drugs. Hippie crack came from somewhere. Mouse Utopia experiment. Yeah, I've heard of the Mouse Utopia experiments. Another thing that seems to be doing the rounds right now is the, what's it called? You know how they give, like, autists a keyboard and they magically produce words? Like, being able to read people's emotions and expressions or something. That was kind of debunked, but, have you guys ever heard of Clever Hans? Like Clever Hans the horse? Let me just pull that up. Clever Hans. So Clever Hans was this horse that they thought was able to do math in 1907, but the horse was actually just watching the cues and body language of the human trainer. And that in of itself is very, very interesting, that a horse is able to read people's subtle body motions and expressions. Like, that's actually insane, and that's more impressive than a horse being able to do advanced calculus, honestly. There's also a dog pointing experiment where domesticated dogs were able to tell what pointing was innately. Dog pointing experiment. Make your expression soft, yeah. Well, no, it's interesting that horses and dogs are able to tell things. I don't want Pavlov experiments, I want dog pointing experiment. Do owners have a Clever Hans effect on dogs? This is kind of what I was thinking of. Dogs are exceptionally successful at interpreting human pointing gestures to locate food hidden in 1 to 2 containers. However, it's been repeatedly questioned where dogs rely on the pointing gesture or their success is increased by subtle cues from the human handler. Potential clever Hans effect. Well, again, it's very interesting that non-human animals that are quite different actually understand human cues. They lack human. A lot of animals do that. Most communication is body language. But it's interesting that they can interpret human body language because a lot of people lack the capacity to properly interpret human language and pointing. So, rural communities are least affected by mouse utopia. Well, I'm not sure if it's mouse utopia we're experiencing. Maybe to an extent. People don't experience anything traumatic or interesting in their lives, so any slightly interesting event becomes something pivotal, which is unfortunate. Oh, we're looking at electromagnetic stunning systems now and stuff. This is interesting. Disorientation, incapacitation. Enterprise system for maintaining and transitioning humans to a human-like, self-reliant entity is presented. So the system is to including at least one biological, electronic, and electronic entity with also, neural networks have been a thing since computers were made. Like, neural networks are not a new thing. Like, history of neural networks. The only difference now is that the average person is given immense amounts of computing power. Like, 1940s, they had neural networks. Like, look at this old-ass website. Find it impossible to do. Yeah. Air traffic control systems. Okay. Develop models that could recognize binary patterns and predict the next bit. It's still used in phone lines. Traditional von Neumann technology architecture to open the newer research was left behind. So basically the modern sudden explosion of neural networks was something that's always been under wraps and has always existed. It's just that now people think it's a new thing, and it's not. It's almost as old as, like, computing itself. Kinda. I mean, computing's been around since, like, the dawn of history. Like, there's always been attempts at computation and stuff. Now, I'm interested what the proofs are on the mind control website. Private investigator. So, okay, this was a slide I was looking at. Toxicological mechanism report. So, yes, MK Ultra happened. Lucid targeted individuals worldwide. If you're a victim of mind-body control experimentation and want to put your name on the list of targeted individuals, put your full information on this website. If you believe you're targeted, put your information on a public website. That definitely won't result in you getting spam calls from people saying they're the government and they want to listen to your thoughts, right? I'm surprised that so many people willingly put their name on a website despite suffering from psychotic symptoms. John Keegan's mind control. What are my feelings on neural networks? I think they're neat, and I think that it's interesting that they didn't end up coming into popular use more recently. I'm also very surprised that a lot of people didn't think that they were they would be as capable as they are. Like, as soon as image generation came onto the scene for the average person, it was over. Like, even the crappy image generators. Like, there's always been Hypergan and other smaller neural generation things or whatever image generators that you could run locally. They all sucked, but the stuff's existed forever, and I'm just Like, I mean, the artists that saw Pencil AI and were like, oh, this is never gonna be anything significant. It's never going to advance past that. That was just wishful thinking. Like, they've had the ability to generate images probably for decades at this point. Hello, Inky Blitz. We're looking at victims of mind control, targeted individuals who've, oh look, Jew put their name on the targeted individual site. Again, I'm very surprised that people would willingly put all of their information here, including emails and phone numbers. Huh. Cease and desist letters. Cease and desist all defamation of my character and reputation. Cease and desist all defamation. So this was treated as defamation. I am a respected activist on the TI community of targeted individuals. I've spent more than 10 years serving the targeted individual community and building a positive reputation. I've learned that you've engaged in spreading false, destructive, and defamatory libel and slander about me. Yeah, this is definitely schizo boomers. Schizo boomers, truly odd specimens, I'm sure. Gotta feel bad for people, but this ain't it. Havana syndrome. Are electromagnetic weapons involved? Taking victims of Havana syndrome seriously. The U.S. investigation into the mysterious symptoms known as Havana syndrome could provide Americans with long overdue insights into the emerging threats of directed energy devices. Piercing pain, unexplained sounds, vertigo, vision loss, memory loss, insomnia, and signs of brain damage since 2016 when dozens were afflicted in Cuba. Now, wouldn't it just be more effective to, like, slip some very strong substances into someone's food or drink, like, slowly over a period of time as opposed to spending billions of dollars developing a mind control device? Not all schizos are smart enough to write their own operating systems. Yeah, rip Terry Davis. Yes, truly schizo slop. How long have I been doing this? An hour and 9 minutes. Yikes. Using directed microwaves, not really, because then it could affect your soldiers. Well, I mean, if you're targeting someone specifically, if you're the government, you can put agents into, like, the hotel where they're staying and pay the hotel to have one of your guys working in food service and have it delivered to the guy specifically. Like, higher-end hotels have room service, right? So, all you need is room service to deliver your stuff that is dosed, and if someone's consistently dosed, they won't know they're dosed. Like, if it becomes to the normal, if it slowly titrates, people won't notice until they're acting profoundly strange, right? So, let's see here. What else do I have? DARPA laser weapons. Oh yeah, also the US military is making new aquatic drones that look like manta rays. An enormous underwater drone built around the oceans for a very long period of time without refueling as it passed initial tests off California, DARPA announced on Wednesday. Our successful full-scale manta ray testing validates the vehicle's readiness to advance toward real-world operations. The drone, several times larger than a small lifeboat, has demonstrated multiple modes of propulsion and steering. The 5-year-old manta ray effort aims to harness the movement of the ocean to power a submersible drone that could stay out far longer than current undersea drones. Just US military things. something fluoride. Well, it doesn't make any sense to dull down your entire population, so I'm sure that there is some earnestness behind the fluoride dosage thing. Like, the majority of people are not going to control their diet well enough to prevent tooth decay and to, like, you know, like, modify their internal microbiome in order to prevent getting tooth decay or other various intestinal problems. The Ghost Fleet program. I mean, I'm on the common DARPA website. Programs. Let's see what DARPA News has. DARPA has a podcast. Listen and learn, white boy. Listen and learn. Let's see here. Sensor-guided robots could boost life-saving combat. DARPA challenge. Choo. This is a nanoscale thermal protection. Wow. This is crazy. You see, guys, this is science. My shower unironically has a water filter can attached to the nozzle. Everyone has it's funny that DARPA even has a podcast. Yeah, it is DOS. Thanks for the energy drink shaming. Quantum mechanics. You know, this is real science. This is what Redditors think science is. Voices from... It's funny DARPA has a podcast. It's kind of like how Klaus Schwab has a podcast for the World Economic Forum. Furthering deep fake defenses. So yeah, this will all look civilian-faced. And it's not going to say anything that they're targeting civilians. Science! Look at the science, guys. Look at the science. This is science at its finest. Hackable code in the formal fix. This is all very lame. Let's go back to MK Ultra. Yeah, this is very depressing looking at MK Ultra. Therine, acardic, fish poison, and anglistic. To establish a petty cash fund at agency. Is there any direct energy weapon stuff in MK Ultra? Oh, hello, Sherlocks. You've come in at the most sane stream that we've produced. That I've produced. This is very chill. This is a very chill stream. The continuation of the Subproject 3 for realistic testing of boobadoo narcotics. Boobadoo. The Bureau of Narcotics. There's a Bureau of Narcotics. How is anyone supposed to read that? Now, I wonder if these scans are done crappily intentionally. Mr. Hall is a man of good character. I know him to be reliable, honest, and trustworthy. I'm sure he would be a desirable tenant and would fulfill any contract he may take with you. Oops, one sec. The Co-Intel Pro papers. Let me look that up. Didn't MK Ultra funding accidentally leak to the woman who loved the dolphin? It's funny how all this stuff kind of... Disclaimer... The FBI was just telling me that their website could contain offensive information. Counterintelligence program disrupt activities of the Communist Party in the United States. New Left Alexandria. So, is there anything specifically interesting in the Co-Intel Pro documents you want me to look at? Maybe look at MK Search, MK Ultra's successor. There's MK Search? What the hell? You should flash a pixel with a Graphene OS to be on brand. I do not have a pixel with MK Search. MKSearch.com? That doesn't seem right. This is what I could find so far. The subjects in MK Search were deemed expendables, people whose death or disappearance would arouse no suspicion. The experiments were designed to destabilize human personality by creating behavioral disturbances, altered sex patterns, apparent behavior using sensory deprivation, and various powerful stress-producing chemicals and mind-altering substances. Some of these experiments were carried out in the CIA safe houses in Washington, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. Others were conducted by Dr. Maitland Baldwin at the National Institute of Health. Baldwin performed lobotomies on apes and put these simian subjects into sensory deprivation, presumably in the same box he had built himself at the NIH, and then had to repair after a desperate soldier kicked his way out. There's no information on whether Baldwin extended this work to humans. However, he did discuss with an outside consultant how his lobotomized patients reacted to the prolonged isolation. Baldwin used agency money to buy his own electroshock machine and did some kind of unspecified work at TSS Safe House that caused the CIA to shell out $1450 to renovate and repair the place. Geschinker tested powerful knockout drugs, stress-producing chemicals, and mind-altering substances on mental defectives and terminal cancer patients. 2.1 million flowed through this. MK Often experiments were conducted at the Homsler prison and other federal state prisons. These experiments were sought to find a compound that could simulate a heart attack or stroke. Alternatively, they were designated to produce an irrational or irresponsible behavior or create temporary psychotic states in subjects. Secret documents were uncovered during the 1977 congressional investigations that revealed disrupting a person's psyche and inducing violent behavior. This is very interesting. German said people with issues weren't useful to society. MK search, MK often. MK often. MK often, CIA. MK often. Okay, there's a few documents here. These are congressional hearings, I believe. MK Chickwit, MK Search, MK Often, Georgetown University, CIA 1977. So it wasn't just MK Ultra. I'm not going to read this because it's too many words. Maybe I'll do a video on it. YouTube recommended. Yeah, this is, hello Isotope Anomaly. Welcome. MK Often. The Medium wrote an article on it, so that's fine. Let's see. MK Often. I mean, here's a random article on it. MK Search. Let's see. MK Ultra. So the MK Search just leads back to MK Ultra. Explore the world of black magic and harness the forces of darkness to challenging the concept of inner reaches of the mind are beyond reach. Fortune tellers, palm readers, clairvoyants, astrologers, mediums, psychics, specialists in demonology, witches and wizards, Satanists and other occult practitioners, and more. From Wikipedia. Wonder what they call TikTok internally? Probably brain explosion 10,000. MK Search. Archived website. MK Often. You know, I could look at the Wikipedia article and see if there's anything linked. This toxicology-related article is a stub. Now, archived copy of the PDF. Project Artichoke. Researching methods of interrogation. Mind control. Project Chatter. MK Naomi. Let's see what, if there's any documents. Mental manipulator. Twisted has Wikipedia has accurate info on these topics. Let's see here. Experimentation programs conducted by the Department of Defense that had CIA sponsorship or participation that involved administration of human subjects of drugs intended for mind control or behavior modification purposes. Now, what was with the GATE program? GATE program, United States. Gifted education. I mean, there's a lot of memes about the GATE stuff being mind control. GATE programs, mind control. Let's see. Oh, you love GATE? Okay, here's a article, Now this seems like, okay, so Subproject 112, using children as tests to perceive stuff. how Gate worked. Now I wonder if Gate stuff is just people misremembering stuff. Gate is really good fan service. Gate's coming back soon. I mean, they don't have to do Gate 2.0. They have the internet. How Gate worked is noted most Gate children remember their experiences and underwent no tests involving strange cards, sounds, or liquids. What about the kids who did? Strange Gate, conventional Gate. Strange Gate children did not necessarily have particularly high IQs. They were not high achievers. They had above average creative skills, strong spiritual awareness, and or apparent ESP. These children would be tasked with untangling a physical cord, to read Zener cards, on a hearing test, which actually Monroe hypnosis meditation, played through vintage headphones, occasionally swallowed tablets. After drinking the liquid, the children remembered nothing. After smoking gun of sorts, published a report commissioned by the U.S. Army. Strange Gate tests. Is this it? Enhancing human performance. This report describes the activities, findings, and conclusions of the committee that potential value of enhanced human performance, characteristics, particularities. So they're taking low IQ children and giving them stuff to enhance intelligence, I guess. It's a 10 paper. Enhance human perception performance. National Academy Press. Sorry, I'm reading real quick. This is not interesting. Findings and conclusions. That's kind of what we want to look at. Let's get to findings and conclusions. Overview, introduction. Now you can read this later. It would be interesting to make a full video about this. Findings and conclusions. Widest techniques to enhance human performance. Conclusions. Second task. Although payoffs from basic research can be often realized in the long run, basic play of findings. General conclusions. The committee suggests the Army move vigorously yet carefully and systemically to implant techniques that can be shown to enhance performance in military settings. Such an effort would be timely due to recent developments in research areas. Moreover, payoff is likely to be high as such techniques are selected judiciously. However, the desire for dramatic improvements in performance makes some extraordinary techniques attractive. Techniques drawn from mainstream research in relative areas of performance may be more effective. The Army's concern for enhancing human performance and its substantial resources for evaluating techniques place it in a favorable position to take advantage of its developments. Civilian sector. To summarize. Testimonials of evidence. Conditions for implementation. Should not confuse with lack of openness or new and neutral ideas. Such openness is consistent. Rational decision making. Mechanisms for advice. Specific findings and confusions. Learning during sleep. Committee finds no evidence to suggest that learning occurs during verified sleep. Further research. Accelerated learning. Many studies have found that effective instruction is a result of such factors as quality of instruction, blah blah blah. Committee finds little scientific evidence that so-called super learning programs have benefits. We find that procedures for enhancing skills are not sufficiently in use. Training programs make 2 recommendations to remedy this problem. We concluded Army training provides a unique opportunity for cohort testing of training regimens. Improving motor skills. Mental practice. Okay, so studying and practicing improves your skills. Altering mental states. Time did not allow for the committee to explore the evidence. Self-induced hypnotic states and peak performance were high-level focused concentration and meditation. Recommended views of the literature be taken. The committee finds that while the study of mental computations and language of imagery have progressed over the years, the effort to understand how such computations are manipulated. Yeah, this isn't anything interesting. Public school sucks. What's my MM squad? I don't know what my MM squad. Gate seems like a book publisher scan to get more money from the scales. Maybe. KGB had something equivalent to Stargate. Industrial complex, spending money on anime and video games is the best use of. Yep. Stargate was the one that discovered the spirit world. There's a spirit world. Gate is FTF recruiting slop. Stargate. I'll look up Stargate. Let's see what that is. We're learning so many things today, chat. Stargate, US project. Why is it spelled with a K? Stargate. AI plan. OpenAI. That it's not the AI project. Stargate. Project Stargate remote viewing. Remote viewing. Project Stargate remote viewing. CIA overview. Let's look at the CIA's overview. 1993, so that's pretty recent. This document provides a broad overview of the three main activity areas of the Stargate program on anomalous phenomena to include parapsychological and related biophysical interactions. Historical material and current activity updates are included with backup details in the appendix. This material supplements the briefing charts and related documents that are also supplied for background. We doing research, boys! Okay, preface. I'm never gonna do that again, sorry. Maybe I'll do that again, I don't know. Recent DIA direction. Funding level of $2 million was authorized to undertake this research to permit wider and more systemic review of potential intelligence applications to assess foreign developments in this area. Collection requirements. The Stargate. Brief history of phenomenological research. In the mid-late 1800s, investigations into anomalous mental phenomena were initiated by a very limited number of researchers working endlessly and essentially independent of one another in various countries. Let's see if there's a... What's the song I have in the background? I have Dark House ADHD binaural beats. 3 hours. Remix. Well, I'm pretty sure it's royalty free. We'll find out later. Let's see here. Some kind of diagonal troll up in the air. Building an aerator. Okay, Solana facility. This is an energy expander. It hums. It's some very strong electrical energy going on there. Pure energy circulating. Closed in shed view. This is interesting. What are they showing these people? Long distance retrocognitive. Rocks, uneven holes on a mountain over water. Oh, thank you for subscribing, Desu. Can we get a name in chat? Does it help me focus? Yeah, it's mind control music, basically. What was the intro song in my last stream? I have the playlist of all of the stream music I have. My last stream was Have a Nagila for the intro music, though, so... Similar to a castle, mostly a large castle. Long distance precognitive. Oh, so these are people's descriptions before seeing the images. Beacon somewhere near water, maybe boats, several vertical lines like narrow poles, large round thing like a disc with height, buildings on one side like a boardwalk, vertical lines along the walkway. Target photo. Can we get a name in chat, please? I'll add the link to my playlist after I finish with this. Curve monitors are absolutely hypnosis devices. PSI. Enhancing human performance. Replication. Does PSI exist? Several important basic and application-related findings. Result from shielding do not affect results. Some people have an innate capacity to perform well. Goal orientation is more important than psychological factors, states the nature of the target. A potential correlation between remote viewing capability, and certain brain area activity may exist. These findings were based on research procedures and techniques that received critical review by an expert 9-person scientific oversight committee. The research approach and procedures were judged scientifically sound. Some of these procedural problems were associated with early work in the field and have been resolved and corrected. Appendix B. Okay, so I mean, if this is legit, this is very interesting. That's redacted. In the early 1970s, U.S. researchers remote viewing came into the attention of the CIA. So why don't they just hook up 10,000 Indians to do remote viewing for machines and stuff? This PSI exists me in high school physics. Redacted book. 1970s successful experiment. Development of community capability in RV. This unit was transferred to DIA when 12 billets. Potential operational. Overall, the Stargate activity is based on a concurrent research and application philosophy. It is recognized that formal scientific proof of the phenomena may yet be available, even though anomaly demonstration may be granted in some academic areas. Although formal scientific acceptance could be helpful, the history of application investigations in this field demonstrate that at least some level of application reliability can be achieved for some types of projects. The issue is how to improve overall data quality and reliability so that wider use can be made of its potential capacity. So, 10 million Indians remote viewing military installations. India's superpower by 2015. The redacted part has been physically redacted. You can't copy-paste any of this. The CIA doesn't screw around, unlike whoever released the Trump documents. Potential applications exist for certain project types: counter-narcotics, counter-terrorism, and counter-intelligence. You know, I think, this reminds me of Spy vs. Spy. You guys remember Spy vs. Spy? Limited potential of ST parameters, precise locations. The review occurred in 1990. This followed from an earlier MIB recommendation that operational investigation focused on counter-narcotics projects. Okay, that's redacted. It'd be very interesting to see their redacted information. Like, the FI 1991 Defense Authorization Act identified DIA as an executive agent of a new program examining parapsychological phenomena. As part of this program, the DIA was directed to develop an integrated foreign database on parapsychological activities. Redacted, 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 redacted. That is interesting because it's redacted. Sessions unevaluated. So they have little infographics too. Next 10 pages and document exempt. Appendix. For the past 11 years, remote viewing precognition evidently violates causality. Real-time remote viewing requires transmission mechanisms than any other known process, electromagnetic, gravitational, etc. The lack of a physical model should not be taken to preclude the existence of capability to review a remote location. However, the circumstances thus far limited application of the classical methods of scientific investigation to less cognitive issues. Grid 9431. What's your opinion on the Orange Man project? Was it tied to MK Ultra influencing populations water modified with plasma and radiation therapy? I don't know about the Orange Man experiment. Is the remote viewing of the Ark of the Covenant in this document, or is that under another name? I think that's probably under another name. Mad TV versus MAD, mutually assured destruction. I wonder if those two things are correlated. Told that stream from one literally fiction magazine editor being really into New Age. Orange Man project bad. Orange Man mad fictional. Okay, so it looks like the Orange Man experiment is fictional. LSD it's crazy such intelligent individuals research such utter drivel. Well, they found, I don't know what the Orange Man experiment is, or the Orange Man project. Should I just... Okay, I spelled experiment wrong in the searching. It's project. Well, intelligent people doesn't necessarily mean wise people. Let's try looking that up in Yandex, because I'm just getting a crappy punk band. Which means there's probably something under it. Minor spelling mistake. It was actually quite a major spelling mistake, I'm gonna say that real quick. Alright, let's look at the Orange Man project. Orange Man project. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can find anything on it. Are you just pulling my leg? Are you pulling my leg? Is it the LSD thing? No, that's just AI generated slop. One sec. Let's continue. For the past 11 years, have sought evidence that would support the case for extrasensory perception. In recent years, the focus of these studies has been centered on remote viewing by the subjects claiming to visualize the scene beyond a point of visual field of vision, and in many cases in a remote part of the world, typically not known to them by actual experiments. The implication of success in remote viewing, if it exists, are revolutionary. Since it described to the review team, it is manifestly incompatible with the currently accepted scientific principles. Remote viewing of future events precognition evidently violates causality. Real-time remote viewing clearly requires a transmission mechanism other than any known process. The lack of a physical model should not be taken to preclude the existence. I already read that. The evidence shown to us is too impressive to dismiss as mere coincidence. Certain similarities between SRI and Princeton results obtained in very different circumstances by unrelated investigators are particularly compelling. The Princeton work is somewhat more quantitative than at SRI and leads to an estimate by Dr. R. John that the phenomena he observed could be explained by the transfer of information above the noise at a level of about 1 bit per thousand. This, of course, raises the question of how much information is required to construct the impressions gained by remote viewing, a question which investigators cannot presently answer. Therefore, the review team feels that remote viewing is either real or due to some sort of experimental interference from one or some of the participants, something that may be described as inadvertent cueing. However, on the basis of our brief exposure to the SRI program, we found no obvious evidence that the cueing or a collusion between the viewer and experimenter monitors. I'm on to nothing. So, Orange Man bad? I mean, it could be... If the Orange Man experiment is something real, I can't find it. I can't find the documents associated with it. It's probably been drowned out by Orange Man bad chance and other Orange Man stuff. I was more interested in, like, Agent Orange causing mutations in children in, like, Indonesia, but that stuff's not very interesting. I just think it's cool. The briefing strongly emphasized the investigators' ability to train and others in their techniques. The training program that's developed over the past 5 years for the dedicated participation. His diverse talents have been devoted to self-training, which he feels competent to impart in others. Approximately a dozen trainees have completed instruction to various levels of claimed competence. An important aspect of Swan's contributions relate to his dissection of separate elements of the perceptual process. Under his guidance, the technique centers around the use of a coordinate method to describe the remote location, expressed in degrees of latitude and longitude. It is here that any attempt at rational understanding of the perceptual process is lost. Since the significance of coordinates is so expressed that it is unknown to the viewer in most incidences, it is impossible to understand why such a method should be translated to the viewing process into a precise delineation of geographic characteristics of the target site. The arbitrariness of this approach does not escape the investigators, but the repeated attempts to elicit rational biases for this procedure, or to secure definitive information about possible successes or failures, which other methods that may have tried are uniformly unsuccessful. The investigators' attitude was that since they had found the coordinate method to work, they were not disposed to query other mechanistic bases of its applications or to seek appraisal or other potentially successful methods. Hello, coordinate 888. Dog yielded random public exhibits. Sissy Hypno. Yes, keywords. Especially in a world where keywords made necessary, overriding keywords is an issue indeed. Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. Like, the Stargate project has been buried under new Stargate projects, which are just talking about doing stupid stuff with AI. Like, it took me a little bit of digging to find the Stargate stuff, which is this. This is way more interesting than AI model stuff, honestly. Because, I mean, wasn't there a thing where, like, they had an AI model that basically simulated the actions of every person on Earth simultaneously? 2 pages exempt. Music is pretty good. What are we reading, chat? We're reading CIA documents. A word simulator? Yeah, kinda. CIA.government. CIA reading room documents. Person of interest. Yeah, basically it's person of interest. I have the website right here. Freedom of Information Act, electronic reading room. Let's see what the reading room is. Post-date, UFO, Special Collection, Personal Files, MK Ultra, 2018 sanitization. conventional, military, science, technological, Africa, Russia. Why is there so many articles about Africa? Oxcart resistance, life and intelligence, release date 2025. Why isn't it working? Oh no, the CIA is caught on. Oh no. Guided animal studies, MK Ultra subproject 114, MK Ultra subproject number 10. Guided animal studies. 114 sounds interesting. MK Ultra. Okay, so these are very poorly translated. CIA bless the rain there. Africa is a great petri dish for experimentation of folks that are into that kind of thing. Well, yeah, because Africa's not very well. Current Intelligence Bulletin, 1956. All of these are very, very old documents. Sort by descending. 2018 sanitization. Filter date. 2020. Site's very slow. Saran. Assassination of Senator Robert F. Kennedy. RFK. He's under executive order. Have been asked to redact Saran's handwritten diary and make some kind of personality interpretation from his handwriting, his doodles, and his comments. Obviously, with the flood from other material and Saran's appearing in the newspapers and international magazines, it is probable that we've been contaminated or influenced by material presented here. There's no question in our minds that Saran is a person. On the basis of his handwriting alone, he would have picked up, as we are convinced, that due to the professionals charged with the responsibility of describing him, the courts and the public will have on this disagreements. As a result, the trial is over. We have a general gnawing doubt about his true Sir Saran. We doubted that we could describe his illness really satisfactory. We've seen his handwriting before he assassinated Senator Kennedy. We would have described him as, however, under no circumstances would we predicted that he was capable of doing what he did. We do not see him as the kind of person who could be that, and systemically we do not see him on the basis of this illness, which can be explained by a tragic combination of the odds of him being successful were tremendous. We cannot see him as part of a conspiracy. He could be a tool of a conspiracy in the sense that he attempted assassination and assigned do. It's unlikely, however, he could have effectively acted under precise instructions. In summary, he appears to be a person who is innately, he is but under convictions. Basically, he is a normal... interesting. Personality assessment. Is a blank person. He's picked up as a blank. We've convinced that due to the blank professional's charge. We have described him as blank. In summary, he is a person who's innately blank, but who appear blank conditions. Basically, he is a blank who blank under a usually normal blank. He would be unexpectedly blank whenever he felt blank. Most people of this type attack their mother or girlfriend. Occasionally, they will lash out against an employer or colleagues. Quiet man who killed his carpool and himself. Sometimes he will pick public figures and make an abortive attempts to get them. Essentially, we see Saran as much more like the assassins of Garfield and McClaney than the assassins of Lincoln and President Kennedy. So, this guy who assassinated Kennedy was a person who was easily psyoped into doing stuff. Or easily controlled, it looks like. Very interesting. Alright. Soviet rolling stock and motor vehicle. Probable development in Egypt. Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. So most of this is Soviet stuff. Alright. How long has this been going on for? I'm starting to get pretty tired. Let's take one last brief overview of everything we've overviewed in this overview. We started with this the BC government doing something really stupid. Then we started looking at schizophrenics talking about how they're being gang stalked, and then we started looking at CIA stuff and MK Ultra stuff. NK Naomi. What's NK Naomi? It's Garrus. Biological warfare agents to store materials that can incapacitate or kill a test subject, and devices for diffusion of materials. MK Naomi. Surveillance. Modified guns, Spire special darts. Darts can incapacitate guard dogs, allowing agents to infiltrate the area of dogs with guardians and used to awaken the dogs upon exiting the facility. Interesting. I knew some people who came back served in the Soviet Afghan War. A lot of those people came back broken. Well, of course they did. They served in the war. CBRN weapons are standard. Honestly, nothing very interesting. You know, it's very interesting that things that used to be deemed horrific are now just part of the general thing. Here are the most 10 wanted fugitives. What did this lady do? Caution. She's wanted for alleged participation in a large-scale fraud scheme. Beginning in approximately 2014, Ignova and others have defrauded billions of investors from all over the world. Founder of OneCoin Ltd, a Bulgaria-based company that marketed a proposed cryptocurrency. In order to execute the scheme, Ignova made false statements and representations of individuals in order to elicit investments in OneCoin. She allegedly instructed individuals. So basically, crypto scammers are now on the FBI most wanted list. So, let's see what these other guys have done. It kind of looks like just crypto scanners. Look at that Indian guy. What did this guy do? Caution. He's a ranking member of the National Liberation Army and wanted for drug trafficking activities in Venezuela. Colombian. He's a ranking member of... I already looked at that guy. Let's look at this guy. What did this guy do? Wanted for killing his wife by striking her multiple times with an object while they were working at a donut shop. Why is this guy on the most wanted CIA list? He just killed his wife over a donut dispute. What about this guy? He stole Pokemon guard. Omar Excellent, wanted for involvement of murder. Large shopping center. So, why are small-time murderers on the CIA most wanted list? There's nobody particularly interesting here. This guy looks more interesting. This is very interesting that there's nobody interesting on this list. That looks like a kid. What did the kid do? What did this freaky-looking lady do? Doesn't she look freaky? She killed her 6-year-old son. And she flew back to India. Interesting. That was his wedding. He probably divorced his wife and killed her. He ran a transnational drug trafficking operation that shipped cocaine. Okay, this is more what I'd expect. This is definitely what I'd expect more of, like massive drug traffickers as opposed to small-time murderers. Charged federally for racketeering conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and possession to possess machine guns. He supported multi-ton loads of cocaine from Honduras to the United States. Okay, yeah, drug traffickers are more of what I'd expect as opposed to just random guy kills his wife or his kid. Heavily armed drug trafficking organization based in Mexico. Yeah, so drug traffickers, but why is people who just killed their wife on the FBI most wanted list? Mr. Cocaine. Yeah. So now we're looking at the FBI. Okay, why do people want this kid? He's wanted for... He killed a co-worker who was female in 2016 by shooting her in the head. Okay, again, like small-time murderers. Very interesting. COINTELPRO groups, white hate groups. Let's see. Counterintelligence programs. Yeah, I think I am pretty tired, so I'm going to end the stream here. It was nice looking at the MK Ultra and all the fun programs with you guys, but did I see the DIA FBI recruitment ads? I did not. See the Olympian who just got apprehended? No. But yeah, I think we've done quite a bit of good research today, guys. We've looked at all the interesting things you can look at, and I think this is good. So, thanks, and I think we will have some other things to discuss later that are interesting. So, yeah, nice stream. Cool stream, guys. Have a good night. Remember, 5th Gen Warfare, you are on the front lines. I am on the front lines, and I am, yeah, I have control over the population or something. I don't know. Alright, bye.